I kind of expected it, but wasn't as emotionally prepared as I thought I would be. Neglect, disrespect, absolute refusal when it came to any intimacy all pointed to the same thing. She was either having an affair, thinking about having an affair, or just tired of being my wife. I had kind of made up my mind to lose her. Over the past few months, she had become easier to accept. What I didn't understand was why she didn't just leave. I mean, why drag it out? Just say goodbye and move on with your life. I didn't wire money because we didn't have much. We lived in a house with no debt, but only because it belonged to my grandmother and we moved there after she died. I was already seeing signs I didn't like, so I talked to my parents and they agreed to keep the house in their name for at least a year, just to be sure. We had our own house. Well, us and the bank. We lived there for 6 years before Sandy drank too much wine one night and dozed off, leaving a dozen candles burning, one of which was too close to the curtains. She was awakened by the alarm and managed to get out, but by then the entire living room was engulfed in flames. The fire department got there about the same time I did, preparing to fight the fire as I told them about the gun collection and all the ammunition I kept. About that time, a few shots rang out, so they moved a safe distance away and let it burn. One of my best friends was the captain of that particular station, and he wrote that it was too far away when they arrived to help with the insurance. Apparently, there was no stupidity clause in the insurance policy because they paid it off, leaving us with a net amount of about $30,000. It was more than I thought we would get. So we took it and moved into Grandma's house. We still had about $20,000 left, and she would get half of that, enough to start living in a decent apartment. I would stay where I was. I did a few other little things, and if we split up, she would be very disappointed. Like I said, I expected it. I just didn't expect it to go so cold-bloodedly. I was working a different shift. My hours were later than hers. It was winter time, and it got dark pretty early in my area. I noticed her car wasn't in the garage, and the porch light wasn't on. I walked in calling her name. She didn't answer, and I found her by the dressing table putting on makeup. She was wearing a LVD, not the one I was used to, a brand new one with a higher hem and lower neckline. I watched her for a few minutes while she ignored me. "Are we going somewhere?" "No, it's me. I have a date." She waited for the explosion, but it didn't come. I just stared at her until she got nervous. "Did you hear me? I said I'm on a date. I'm seeing another man." "No, you're not." "You're what?" I said no. No means no means no means no. You can date whoever you want, sleep with whoever you want as soon as you move in. I'll apply as soon as I can. But you won't do it while we're living under the same roof. Why don't you pack some things and stay somewhere else for a few days? Give me time to organize everything, and then we'll talk about how to divide it up. Her laugh seemed almost raven-like for some reason. "I'm not leaving. You are. I love this house, and when it's mine, I'll decorate it the way I like. If you prove yourself a dear, at least I'll get most of the money when we're forced to sell. Do us both a favor and move in with your parents until this is over." No. You need to leave." "Oh, I'm going in about 30 minutes. Don't come here when I get back or I'll call the police. I'm sure I can think of something to get you thrown out. I heard they're going to hold you for 48 hours for domestic violence. I think I can change the locks and get a restraining order by then." E was a little shaken when I smiled. "Whatever you think, don't do it. I'm serious, Henry. This is a done deal. You're about to get screwed. Life's a bitch. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to fix this lipstick. This bright red should be the perfect color. It should show off the ring, don't you think?" I just smiled and walked out of the bedroom. I knew she didn't have the courage to ask him to pick her up, which meant she was going to meet him. I walked through the garage, picking up the aluminum baseball bat I'd used over the summer. 4 good swings took care of her headlights and taillights. She's not leaving in that car. I walked back and saw EE purse lying on the counter. I opened it, noticing a 6-pack of condoms as I pulled out her cell phone. Not wanting to make a mess, I took it into the garage, removed the battery, put it on the workbench, grabbed a hammer, and broke it into 3 pieces. I reassembled the phone without the battery and tossed it back into my purse. I almost stuck pinpricks into the condoms, but stopped, thinking she would claim it as mine. She walked into the kitchen as I was pouring coffee, carrying the highest heels I'd ever seen. When she saw me, she frowned. "Out!" she shouted, pointing at the door. I just smiled and sipped my coffee. She sighed. "Okay, if that's what you want. Look for the cops here soon. You might want to call your dad for bail money when you can get out." I took another sip of coffee. Why would the cops come? I didn't threaten you. I didn't raise my hand to you. All I did was refuse to let you kick me out of my house. "That's not what I'm going to tell the cops. You threatened me when I asked for a divorce and you insulted me. I'm afraid for my life. They always trust a woman. I'm not kidding, Henry. You got about 30 minutes until I call." She stomped away as fast as she could in those heels. 5 minutes later, she could be heard yelling through the door. She burst in, and the look on her face made me a little nervous. "Axe you, you bastard! What did you do to my car? What makes you think I damaged your car? You shouldn't leave it parked on the street like that." For a second, she just stared at me. "Never mind. I'll just call him to pick me up. I'll even let you see me kiss him when I get out. Don't be surprised if you don't see my head when we leave." It was my turn to make EI nervous as I grinned. "Sure, give him a call. It'll give us a chance to get to know each other better. I can tell him what a crazy bitch you can be. I hope he doesn't have any long-term plans. After all, you're proving to him that marriage vows don't mean much to you." She went up a few decibels when she discovered her phone wasn't working. Stomping off, she came back in her sneakers, carrying her heels. "Have a nice evening," I said, smiling. "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, you're gonna get keyboy, motherfucker." I could still hear her swearing as she walked down the street. It was almost too much when I saw her knock on the first door and E wasn't let in. She must have repeated it for half a block until she realized no one was going to help her. "Thanks, Mom." I called her when I figured it out, and she called all the neighbors. I grew up on this street, everybody knew me, and everybody loved me. E, not so much. I knew she would be coming to the phone soon, so I sat down again and waited. It took about 20 minutes for the cops to answer. I didn't know it at the time, but she was back, staying in the shadows, waiting for the police officers to arrive. I knew one of the policemen, the girl I graduated from high school with. I invited them in, offered them a cup of coffee. They seemed nervous. "Let me guess. You're here on a domestic disturbance call. See the broken furniture? See the abrasions on your knuckles? The torn clothes?" They shook their heads. "Then what makes you think there was any disturbance?" "She said you threatened her, Henry. Told her you were going to ruin her life when she told you she was leaving you. I'm sorry, Henry, but the law is clear. We have to arrest you." "God, that sounds serious. How serious is perjury?" The man spoke first. "If you have any evidence of that, now would be a good time to show us." And so I showed them the cell phone camera video. Both cops frowned. "Well, that gives you a lot of options, Henry. Perjury's out of your hands. That's up to us. However, you can use the video to get a restraining order. You can clearly hear her speak. You'll get yours. A clear threat if we've ever heard E. Sounds like you guys don't need to be in close proximity to each other right now. You can file tomorrow and give our names as proof. In the meantime, if you have any way to secure the house so she can't come back, that might be a good idea. If she comes back, call us. And Henry, I remember how nice you can be when someone hurts you, so don't, okay? Let it go to trial and let it go. You hear what I'm saying?" "Yes, ma'am, Sergeant." Sweet cheeks. "Oh, I'm sorry. I know nobody called you that since high school, especially since you started carrying a gun. Old habits, you know. You can't hide it under that uniform. It's still a world-class asshole. Whoever's in your life right now is a lucky man, Heather." She blushed and walked out. I seemed to have suddenly developed the ability to piss off any woman I come in contact with. The guy smirked. "Sweet cheeks, huh? You're right. It's a world-class ass, but no one will see it now. She just went through a nasty divorce. You're not the only one with a spouse who wants to date. Please don't make us come back tonight. They didn't have to come back. While I was talking to the cops, my loving wife slipped into the garage with the bright idea of taking my car. The flaw in that plan was that she threw her keys on the kitchen table and couldn't get in with the cops. And then she saw them. I always kept a set of monster keys on the workbench. That's what she called it the first time she saw it. It was an old, but in perfect condition, 1989, full-size, four-wheel drive Suburban. I think you could fit both of our other cars in it. It was only driven when I needed to haul something on my trailer, 2 or 3 times in the summer to haul a friend's pontoon fishing and as a snowmobile. If you were careful, you would never get stuck. What she didn't consider was that I had disconnected the chain from the garage door opener, just in case that's what would happen, and to keep E out. She started the 3V-PA. The sound was incredibly loud in the small space, hit the garage door opener button, and waited until she thought it was up and released the clutch, thinking to get away as fast as possible. She should have turned on the light or she would have seen that the garage wouldn't open. The garage door couldn't match the power the 454 was putting out, nor the thrust the 3-inch low gear gave. It flew backward at the sound of grinding sheet metal, straight into the front of the police car. She had enough inertia to throw the car back several feet, causing significant damage to the front end. Heather reached for the car door as 3V popped out of the garage. 5 more seconds and it could have ended very badly. E-partner wasn't so lucky. He opened the door and was about to get in when she crashed into the patrol car and the door knocked him about 10 feet down the driveway. Heather was a redhead, and I was well aware that she had a personality to match her hair. As I rushed upstairs to check on Officer Jones, she was pulling my loving wife out of the monster by her hair, all the while screaming, "High ground, bitch! Now!" My loving wife, Ginger, by the way, if anyone cares about E-name, was pretty much out of it and just moaning. As soon as she was cuffed, Heather rushed to her car and turned on the radio. "Officer down! Officer down! Get help to 411 Elm Drive now!" Officer Jones was unconscious. Most of the impact was to his face, and it was pretty clear that his nose was broken. I gently cradled his head in case of spinal injuries, so he wouldn't choke on his own blood. I must have held his head for about 20 minutes before the first ambulance pulled up. 10 minutes later, it looked like a police meeting. All the officers on duty were there. Heather rode with Officer Jones to the hospital since her car was out of commission after giving her statement to the investigator and referring him to me. Ginger got a free ride in the ambulance, too, due to the fact that she got bruises, some bruises from the airbag, and a pretty good bruise. I repeated all of this 4 times before they were satisfied. Being a small town, I knew a couple other cops, including the main one, my friend's dad. He was our baseball coach when we were in middle school. "Any news on Officer Jones, Coach?" No matter what rank he held, he'll always be a coach to me. "Nothing definitive, Henry. But so far, it doesn't look too bad. They'll know more when they study the MPT and X-rays." I thanked him and was just leaving when he called out to me. "Just so you know, your wife seems fine. If the accusation of everything we're incriminating her with can be called fine. How can you accuse EE of extreme stupidity? Here are the consequences." Ginger got out on bail, went into the bank and withdrew $19,000, leaving me with $1,000. She needed the money to pay back her parents' bail and hire a good lawyer. I still had a restraining order in place, so we talked through our attorneys. Our first meeting went extremely poorly for her. Comey was my parents and my attorney because their input was relevant. The attorney listed her requirements. She wanted the house, or at least half of its value. I knew she had arranged for a realtor friend to buy it for her and then sell it back to her, using her half of the proceeds for a down payment. She knew I would never agree to sell it to her. My lawyer pulled a paper out of his briefcase and handed it to my attorney. He seemed surprised, and Ginger shrieked, "What?" A lawyer explained it to her. "The house belongs to his father. His name is nowhere on the deeds. You can't get half of something that doesn't belong to you." She was still seething with anger when he named the next demand. My client wants all new furniture in the house. Living room, dining room, furniture from all the bedrooms, silver service, and new kitchen appliances. My attorney responded with new documents. Everything we bought was paid for by check, from my father's account. We'd pick something out, I'd take it home, pick up my dad and his truck, he'd write a check, and I'd give him cash. I'm afraid all of the rental furniture belongs to the homeowner. None of it is public property, but he agreed to let you choose one of the bedrooms, I suppose, for nostalgia. After all, almost everything we owned was out of her reach. I fixed her car the next weekend, delivering her to her parents' house when I found out they were gone trying to bail out their daughter. The judge called me and my attorney into his office during the divorce, going over the papers. He tried to hide a chuckle, but couldn't. Very nice, boy. You cut her legs right out from under her. You knew that was going to happen, didn't you? I shrugged. I hadn't exactly envisioned the scenario, but I knew it wouldn't end well. I was just protecting myself. By all rights, she owed me $9,000 of the money she took, but if she just signed the papers, we'd be even, he muttered. Fair enough. Back in the courtroom, he told Ginger that everything was documented and legal and there was nothing he could do about it, but I agreed to leave her all the money she took if she would just agree to the divorce. If not, I would demand it. She was furious, but she had no choice. The judge dropped the gavel, and I was a free man. She had to forget about me and concentrate on her other problems: filing a false police report, assaulting an officer with an automobile. They pounced on a bunch of trivial crap that was thrown out because they were mad at her about Officer Jones. She got lucky and ended up on probation for a year. I ran into her a month later at Walmart. She wanted to talk, so we ordered drinks at a coffee shop and sat down. It took her a minute to find her voice. Why were you so hard on me? I could ask you the same question. When exactly did you decide to give up on our marriage? You could have just broken up instead of making the last few months so miserable. And what was the reason you shoved your date in my face? You've lived with me long enough to know I don't just give up. She sat for a minute before she spoke. I wasn't happy, and I haven't been for a long time. I hated when our house burned down, hated moving here, hated leaving our friends behind. I guess that's where it all started. Looking back, I realize you're a good guy and I should have just talked to you. That's probably the stupidest thing I've ever heard you say. I didn't want to go home either. I liked where we lived. If you had given me any idea that you wanted to stay, we would have taken the insurance money and bought something else. Even after we moved, we could still come back. I think that was probably partly true, but the truth was that you wanted to leave. Why is there so much singing and dancing at the end? I know it wasn't all your fault, but I blamed you for everything. I didn't really care about anyone else. I just wanted to hurt you. I'm sorry for the way I acted. You were right. We should have just talked it out and parted as best we could. I got up. I'm done. Well, that was enlightening. You need to see someone, Ginger. You're totally screwed. I heard you're coming home, so I doubt I'll see you again. Try to live a decent life, and if you fall in love with someone else, use our experience as a learning tool. I didn't say goodbye. I just left. I saw EE 4 years later when I returned for a friend's funeral. She looked almost the same, maybe 5 pounds heavier with longer hair. She saw me and smiled, but we never talked. That was fine with me, better to let bygones be bygones. About 2 years after the whole mess, I ran into Sargent, sweet cheeks at the firing range. She was wearing jeans and she still had a killer ass. We talked, and I found out she was engaged to Officer Jones, who had made a full recovery. He got a pretty good settlement from my auto insurance, and they planned to use it for a down payment on a house. 18 months later, I saw EE again and asked her how she was enjoying marital bliss. She snorted. I guess he didn't think as highly of my ass as you do. I caught him with a different ass. And the ass belonged to a man. We didn't part on the best of terms. I wish I could sympathize, but I don't. She seemed surprised. Why wouldn't she be? Because now you're free again, I hope. I never got that sweet-ass flick in high school. This might be my chance. And just so you know, even though it's a world-class ass, I like everything attached to it, including your brain. I hear you're a detective now. Can you use that superior brain power to figure out what I'm thinking about? She blushed slightly before laughing. If it's what you're thinking, I'll have to arrest you. It was my turn to glower, but I smiled. Is this one of those states? No, you're lucky. 3 bet me at 7, put on a suit and don't say anything stupid. Now shut up and do it. I showed up at 7 o'clock sharp in my best suit. I don't know if it was genetics or training, but even as stupid as I can be sometimes, I knew better than to complain about it. I didn't put her to bed until we were married, 9 months after our first date. All I can tell you is it was worth the wait. And now it's Captain Sweet Cheeks. I may sound silly, but calling her Sweet Cheeks in public is not the same thing, although she does like it when I say it in the bedroom. Ginger's been seeing a counselor. I don't know if it helped or not. She's been married twice, and the second husband seems to have been careful. He seems to keep her on a pretty short leash and reminds her of me when she gets out of control, telling her that I'm not the only one who can do that to her. It seems to help her focus, at least on the cousin who told me about it. All I can say is, it's good for her. Our daughter Kelly got married today. Our wedding gift to her was my grandmother's old house. Heather never liked it, and when E's parents died, we moved into E's house, a big 2-story old farmhouse. Our son Mark will have it when we pass away, which I hope won't be any time soon. After Kelly left on her honeymoon, I surprised my Sweet Cheeks with tickets to one of those sea cruises, a 25th wedding anniversary present. She had always wanted to go, and I had finally saved up the money to invite EC with me. 2 weeks in Europe, the vacation of her dreams. It brought me some really good love. I have to go. Sweet Cheeks calls me back to bed, gives me a little blue pill and a glass of water. It looks like it's going to be a really good vacation.